Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Sarah Egan Warren, the point of my story.
I don't have any beer. I just have to start with that. I know. Thanks a lot. So when I was 5 years old, I was 100% positive that I was going to grow up to be a ballerina. I was going to dance on stage in tutus and tiaras and sparkly costumes, and everyone was going to clap for me. And you know, the adults in my life very much encouraged this ballerina fantasy because grown-ups like to assign future outcomes to whatever interest a child has. Here's my son, he likes Legos. Clearly he's going to be an engineer. The guy across the street likes to kick a soccer ball. He's going to get a scholarship to college, no problem. The younger Sarah loved to dance. Clearly, she was going to be a ballerina. And I spent a lot of time in the ballet studio and on stage, and I loved it. And then puberty arrived in middle school, along with this ass. And I looked around, and none of the real ballerinas had any ass to speak of. So thus began my self-exile from the ballet studio. I was not looking like a ballet dancer, so I couldn't be a ballerina. And while I know people get uncomfortable talking about body size and type and shape and weight, it was this awkwardness that I didn't look like her that kept me away from ballet, that made me feel like I didn't even deserve to be in a ballet class. Sure, I went to dances and later danced at clubs, and of course, in shiny matching bridesmaid dresses. But I figured that my time with ballet was over. The curtain had closed. It was part of my past. It couldn't be part of my present or my future because I just didn't look like a ballerina. But then I had a daughter, and she crawled early and walked early and danced and grooved to music all the time. And so I thought, I can go back to a dance studio, and this time I could be a dance mom. So we started looking for a ballet studio that would work with my daughter, and we found a great fit. And while I was there, I saw advertised adult ballet classes. And I thought, surely that has got to be a mistake. I mean, can you imagine a bunch of moms in ballet class? I mean, do grown-ups do things like this? But I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I signed up, and I did it. And 20 years after I had left the ballet studio, I went back to ballet class. Thank you. And what I found there were, guess what, women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s of all different shapes and sizes, just enjoying ballet. And I was there having my own dance experience, not living through my daughter, but doing it for myself. Eventually, I ended up at a more rigorous studio that grouped us by skill and not just age. So I was dancing with adults and high school students and advanced middle schoolers. And when my director asked who was interested in trying to start training to go on pointe, I raised my hand with all those little girls. Most people start training to go on pointe in middle school, and I was getting closer to middle age, but I added more dance classes, I added more yoga classes to build my strength and my core and my balance. And after a couple months, I got approval to go buy my very first pair of pointe shoes. And I was so excited. And when I went in to show the director to get approval for my shoes, a real ballerina is stretching at the bar, and she leans over and says, "My God, I would kill for your feet." And I thought, you know what? I may not have the body of a ballerina, but by God, I've got the feet, and I'm going to use them. And so I did. Now, being on pointe, it's really hard, people. It's ridiculous. If you've done it, you know. And it's a little insane because you're balancing your entire body on the tip of your toes on some layers of glue and fabric. But I could do it. Wasn't ever great at it, but I could hold a balance. I could beret across the floor. I could do turns. And it was nothing spectacular, but I had gotten to this point, pun intended. So despite the fact that I was really excited and celebrating my own pointe victories, I got a lot of negative feedback from people saying, "Why are you doing this?" When I would have to beg off of an assignment or meeting up with people, "Sorry, I have ballet class, I can't do that." And it started making me feel bad when people would say, "Why are you doing this?" And I started to doubt myself and think, why am I spending time and money on something that I'm not going to be a professional ballerina? It's just something I do. But then I decided I had to ignore that. I had stayed away from ballet for long enough for a stupid reason in the first place. And so I wanted to focus instead on what I got from ballet. And the first thing I got was strength and confidence that I had no idea that I had. It made me feel proud of myself. It made me feel accomplished. And it made me feel like I could do anything. I mean, really, if I can do this, what can't I try to do? So I signed up for other classes too. I took hip hop classes, Latin, salsa, belly dancing, Zumba classes, and I never once thought, oh, my body doesn't work or doesn't look like it belongs here, because I could just go and do it. Now, the other thing that dance did for me was that I'm an instructor at NC State, so most of my day is spent all up in this realm, all in my mind. And dance really helped me connect with the physical, that it made me think about how I move and work in this body and got me away from just up here. And also the different styles of dance that I was doing made me think about how I move and work in this world. So, ballet is all about being aligned and being up like this, but, hip hop, we're working like this. And Latin, we're going like this, and belly dancing when we're moving like this, and all of those things kind of add up to a way for me to think about how I'm doing things here. The last thing that dance really did for me was that it helps me be a better teacher, because it's hard to learn something new. It is hard to master a new skill, and it put me back in the role of a student. And it gave me a lot more patience with my students when I had to repeat something over and over again, because my director would say, more plie, Sarah, more plie. So I hope that my story tonight maybe serves as a call to action for all of you to think about, maybe you had a childhood passion, a sport, a hobby, an instrument, and I'm here to tell you that it is never too late to think back about those things and see if maybe they could make you happy now. And that, my friends, is the point of my story.